Welcome in to Phoenix Truth Rising Show, where I will explain and show the Phoenix Journals, where the truth shall set you free. So this will be part one. I won't make it too long. I'm going to do it in segments. I'm going to go over in summary these journals, these books that were put here for this time to bring the truth to the minds of men and women and children, so that we can rise above the global elites, chaos, turning us into slaves onto the New World Order system. And we shall rise above. We shall rise again. The Phoenix Truth Rising Show will bring you mindfulness and awareness of many topics that you might not have heard of and you might have heard of. And you might think some are a little bit out of this world and some are very boring and down to earth. Lots of details of our elites establishing their agenda. So, this particular journal, there's quite a few I have to go over, and I figured I'd start here. From here to Armageddon. I am Ashtar by Ashtar Phoenix Journal. Okay, I'll introduce the Phoenix Journals another day and what they're about. But this was about putting the truth on the world stage. So, I'll introduce the Phoenix Journals. And I'll read this to you. By the way, this was published in 1995. 28 years, going on 29 after that. So the Phoenix Journals are intended as a real-time commentary on current events. How current events relate to past events, and the relationships of both to the physical and spiritual destinies of mankind. All of history as we know it has been revised, rewritten, twisted, and tweaked by selfishly motivated men to achieve and maintain control over other men. When one can understand that everything is comprised of energy, and that even physical matter is coalesced energy, and that all energy emanates from God's thought, you can accept the idea that the successful focusing of millions of minds on one expected happening will cause it to happen. Of the many prophecies made over thousands of years, if the many prophecies made over thousands of years are accepted, these are the end times, specifically the year 2000, the second millennium, etc. That would put us in the sorting period and only a few short years from the finishing line. God has said that in the end times would come the word to the four corners of the world, so that each could decide his or her own course toward or away from divinity, based upon truth. So God sends his hosts, messengers, to present the truth. This is the way in which he chooses to present it, through the Phoenix Journals. Thus, these journals are truth, which cannot be copyrighted. They are compilations of information already available on Earth, researched and compiled by others, some no doubt for this purpose, which should not be copyrighted. Therefore, these journals are not copyrighted, except Sipapu Odyssey, which is fiction. The first 60 or so journals are published by American West Publishing, which elected to indicate a copyright. And Commander Hatton, the primary author and compiler, insisted that no copyrights. If the truth is to reach the four corners of the world, it must be freely passed on. It is hoped that each reader will feel free to do that, keeping it in context, of course. So let's just look at some of the topics. Okay, so Commander Hatton, who is Ashtar, Therian, space people, spirit people, Earth, bottom of the ladder, no fortune telling. All are equal in the sight of God. Nothing new about spaceman. Sananda speaks. Sananda is the name of Emmanuel, which they called Jesus, which is a fake name and a false name. And in Hebrew, it means the name that shall be blotted out forever. So they have a different meaning of the word Jesus. Okay, evacuation during cleansing. So that's about the rapture, okay? Don't believe in the false rapture. Okay, they want to try to annihilate us, and they might do it through a fake rapture. All children will be lifted. Okay, that's part of the rapture, or part of the real type of help from our brothers out above and beyond the ice ring, I believe, in this infinite plane that Tesla said. So we're going to get a lot of advanced information in this book. Some might be a little bit outside your normal understanding. Okay, but the Dark Brotherhood are here to test us and weed us out. Weed our souls from passing on into higher domains. So we shall go through these topics. Nuclear war could damage fabric of space. Trials along the path. Sexual misadventure and money. How about some self-esteem? Glamour versus faith. Ego blast. Judgment rituals and God unlimited spiritual forces. Signs. Time is here. Okay. All about Lucifer, even Lucifer judged by God. Point of no return. What's in a name? Beware of walk-ins. Satan rarely delivers. There's no dead martyrs. And the words of Jesus Christ. So, with this first page, Hatan is introducing Commander Ashtar. Hatan present. Greetings on this beauteous Sunday morning. With me today is Commander Ashtar. You have been aware of his presence for several days, but he graciously waited the finishing of the manual segment. He wished to speak to you once, and I would most appreciate it, Dharma, if you would entertain him. So Dharma's the scribe for Hatan, who is the compiler of all this information. Okay, so here's some lessons for receivers. If you're going to be a receiver of higher frequencies and understandings of the higher truths from God, direct, you have to know how to protect yourself and clear your space so that you don't let in negative energies and negative perceptions. If a receiver's ego cannot submit to obscurity or hoards the lessons and messages onto one outlet for gain or personal commendation, then one is in error. You see, all can be separated in a most practical way through good business corporations. If one claims exclusivity, even if that one is exclusive, there is a gross problem, for that one is trying to keep another from seeking truth themselves. We of the higher realms will never declare one. We would never place such a burden on a human worker as a receiver, nor would we deprive other researchers who cannot procure a specific receiver's writings the ability to find the truth. Okay, so just suppose Hatan pronounces that Dharma is the only one. She would immediately be set up and murdered. Further, in view of her trustworthiness, she would finally go mad with the burden of such a responsibility. That, dear ones, is left to a Christ who might choose to walk your plane. One who self-proclaims to be a Christ is unsound indeed and most foolish. So, interesting. We are here to participate in the most gargantuous task. There is no time left for even the consideration of building church houses and temples, as for instance. The only temples you will build are those underground facilities to save the vehicles of God's already built temples. God is perfectly capable of creating his own temples, and has done so, albeit the buildings get in great disrepair. Okay, so these underground facilities are underground shelters, and China has one for pretty much all of their population, Russia too. But we're the only country in the world that pretty much doesn't have underground shelters. U.S. even has the Ozarks. In Europe, they have a lot of underground shelters for all the elites. So Canada's left out in the open, and that's what this is talking about. So again, a Christ consciousness comes to this planet to deliver the truth, because they have that ability to bear such a responsibility. But even this one says, one who self-proclaims to be a Christ is unsound and indeed most foolish. Okay? And you would immediately go mad if you felt that you had such responsibility. This is the Messiah complex, or Messianic complex, which people get sometimes if they have a certain experience with something with let's say the Merkabah, or going up to these higher realms where we can feel that our true domain is love and light, and we think that we are here to come and show that and sacrifice ourselves as a Christed being. And this is the most grave mistake. We're here to be responsible unto God, but to do what we can, and may our other fellow mans help out by doing what they can. So we're all here in this together. So Commander Ashtar, okay, is going to give a little bit of information here, and I'm just going to go over these 2 pages here, which is a little bit of history of some of the truth that's a little bit different than what you're used to. So Ashtar present, I trust you recognize me as we are elder friends. You and I move most rapidly to slow me up if need be, little sister. Let there be no discomfort on your part that things do not present the possibility of joint communique as the present time. I can function even more astutely by utilizing the same receiver as Commander Hatton. We work in total integration as only an effort for your comfort. We would separate input. It is not necessary. So as information instructions for upcoming times will be sent forth from this sector of your planet, as regards this sector of your planet, I shall be experiencing, alongside Aton, Sananda, and Hatton, as well as Court and Soltek, selected commanders, not to leave out Semjeze, Azkek, Leah, and other ladies in our commands. I am not a bigot. We have no need to consider such things, for ours is a very well-balanced community within which we function. We now have finished the hookup of my circuit in your head, and, okay, so... Dharma, I know you have undergone gross inconvenience in your human world. It is not your hearing which is so impaired, dear one. It is downloading of data from my computer base data center. Sananda now has several who can and will work in total harmony as teams. I have not yet found such equality and offered Commander Imnu, and I have accepted. You see, on this plane, you know of which you are capable. It is earth density and insecurity of flesh manifestation that gives you cause to deny your abilities in full measure. I do not wish to burden you further with explanations of you are in full knowledge, and I only give you the human input that you can relax about seeming dysfunction. You will be screened from conscious knowledge per our contract, but as you function human so that you never be placed in jeopardy. So it's kind of like clause that you kind of forget, not know. So you can't be placed in jeopardy of knowing everything. Sorry for all the movement around, guys. It is very near the timing of we of the fleet to begin to make ourselves known in visible format. And what did they have on the computer today on the news? Oh, there's thousands of UFO ships up above us. What's that all about, people? How can that be? It may seem most bothersome to clear the space of our adversaries over and over. Okay, I stepped ahead. It is very near the timing for we of the fleet to begin to make ourselves known in visible format. At this time, it is still too dangerous, quite frankly, to you ones who are Earth-based. Yours is not to entertain the masses with space stories, but rather to give forth instructions for evacuation and transition necessities. There has been such an abundance of silly nonsense put forth in efforts to discredit us. Hatton trained you well in that you are surrounded by dark brothers, but they seldom get close enough to count coup on you. It may seem most bothersome to clear thy space of our adversaries over and over ad nauseum, but crucial, and it is the only way to open the circuits to receive assistance and clarity in your own receiving. So again, it's very important to demand all negative energies to cease to exist in your holy space now and always. We cause you to obtain books and written material for only one purpose, your protection. If, for instance, a survival guideline lists in perfection already published, we will utilize that list so that you are not targeted as sole knowledge point. Further, it is our effort always to acknowledge contributions of ones in human format for their service. These records will be a portion of the very foundation of historical data for this evolution time period. Some ones, such as Judas Iscariot, have waited long to have their earth experience cleaned. Others have given gifts in lack of realization to their fellow man. They have now arrived at the contribution mark of acknowledgement for their services. As for instance, I would like to acknowledge one Arthur Robinson, PhD, and Gary North, PhD, who have cared enough to compile a survival shelter blueprint to offer onto you ones. You might have a chance to survive. I also honor their relations and attachments, for there is great contribution to those ones where there is such a heavy workload. Further, it gives us a parliament for expressing formal notice to the adversaries of you ones who are our base units. Every time the shield is allowed to be pierced, you become vulnerable. There are very few of you left who have not been tainted in some degree. It is always the association with ego and the desire to please ones in your own space, as well as gain accolades for self. There's not wrong with appreciation for self or receiving appreciation and adoration of one's about you. It is the heart willingness to share and give it all that is required, not always the actual giving of it. Okay, so you must be willing to forfeit all human need for acknowledgement as if you never existed at all upon your plane. It does not mean it will be thus. It means you must be prepared and willing if it should be required when you need immediate integration of input. You may not tarry even a moment in self-thought about the sharing. It cannot be. You will only have brief moments in which to act. Thy brother's literal life will be at stake. There must be no hesitation to give instantly what is required. Okay, so no royalty up here. We have labels, but they're not for royalty purposes. So I'm going to go further in this book, the next segment. It's getting quite long. I might not be able to load this up the BitChute, so it's only going to be on YouTube, on my Spaceman channel. So please, this is the Phoenix Truth Rising show, and we're here to promote and show you the Phoenix Journals. And if you would like one of these journals, you can get one for a small donation of $20. And if you can send that through VChain or VET or XLM is another wonderful type of way to send money these days. You need to do it a little bit differently. And if you have any issues, you can email me at EC4LW@proton.me. So EC4LW@proton.me. So if you email me, I'll try to get you a book out, and you can get this information directly in your hands. Now, these journals are filled chock full of a lot of knowledge that you have to read a lot of times to get more of the spiritual content understood. Okay? But we do have deeper knowledge to go into on this planet than just what the elites give us. So with that being said, I will hope that you wish to see the next segment and continue on your journey in learning about the Phoenix Journals. And the energy on these books is quite high. It's very amazing, the frequency or vibration these books have, because they are chock full of truth, and they're here to free us from the lies. They were given to us, presented on the planet, so that we can know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So, with that being said, this is Spaceman 2.0 for the Phoenix Truth Rising show, and I'm here to help you know. So, with that being said,